Hi everybody, welcome back to the CMA classes. So yes, we were doing FDI and we have completed some of the terms used in this chapter. For surely now we know the percentage for FDI, FPI and the investment which is made by NRI and OCI. So let's get into more things in this chapter. Okay, so let's go for the fourth part where I've written issue of convertible notes by an Indian startup company. Let me read one TK once and then we'll get to know about this with example. So PROI, person resident outside India, may purchase convertible notes which is issued by an Indian startup company. So here with the example, let's understand. Here I have taken ABC Limited, which is the Indian startup company. Now this Indian startup company definitely needs money. Okay, so here the foreign investor is going to invest in this company, in the Indian startup company. So here the money, the fund is inflowed, okay, by the foreign investor. So in this case, the ABC Limited, the Indian startup company, is going to give the convertible note to the foreign investor. Okay. Now there are some of the condition which is to be specified, which is specified here, which is to be fulfilled by these people. Okay, so here the foreign investor at least have to invest minimum amount of 25 lakh in the Indian startup company, which is here ABC Limited. Okay, this is first condition. Second condition, the investment cannot be done by the startup, okay, which cannot be done by whom? The Pakistan or the Bangladesh country. Okay, so at the end this foreign investor, okay, the person, the foreign investors have invested 25 lakh in minimum 25 lakh, okay, in the Indian startup company. So what he is going to get in return? Okay, at the end this Indian startup company is going to give two options to the foreign investor. Number first, to take the money back. Okay, to take whatever the money you have given, either with the interest for surely, okay, because somebody have given us money, lend us money, so we have to pay it back with interest. Okay, okay. Second, to take share of the startup company. Okay, so this was all about this point where the foreign investor either can take back money, okay, or take some of the shares of the startup company. Okay, so this is all about in this point, fourth point, issue of the convertible notes by an Indian startup company. PROI, the person resident outside India, may purchase the convertible notes issued by an Indian startup company. Here the condition, minimum amount shall be 25 lakh. If the startup company engage in activity concern under the approval route, then for surely prior approval is to be taken by whom? RBI. Okay, mode of payment shall be prescribed by RBI and it is to be followed. All other guidelines of RBI shall be followed here. Okay, citizen of Pakistan and Bangladesh or entity which is registered or incorporated in Pakistan or Bangladesh cannot purchase the convertible notes issued by the Indian startup company. तो सीधी सीधी बात बोलूँ क्या, द फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर कैन नॉट बी फ्रॉम दीज कंट्री, पाकिस्तान या फिर बांग्लादेश. Okay, it was easy busy guys. Let's go get into the fifth point, merger or acquisition or amalgamation of the Indian company. In case of equity instrument issued by the new company or transfer company because of amalgamation, merger or reconstruction, then it can be short to PROI. What is the condition here? Scheme of amalgamation, merger, demerged or reconstruction shall be approved by whom? NCLT or the competent authority here. In case of all listed company, regulation shall be followed. Okay, this was a little bit thing about merger and demerger of Indian company. Now comes the main point. What is this? Investment vehicle. Okay, so here the term used which is downstream investment. So with the help of example, let's understand what is the meaning of downstream investment here. Here is the foreign company. Okay, and now this foreign company is going to invest in the Indian company. Okay, and the investment made by this foreign company is going to be 100% investment. So this is what the foreign investment. Okay, as this is wholly done by this foreign company, the investment is wholly done by the foreign company. Okay, इतना तो होता ही आपने को पता है, but there is something new. Here the Indian company is going to invest in another Indian company. So here let me write, this is ABC Limited. okay, and this is the XYZ Limited. Okay, here the foreign company have invested the 100% investment in the ABC Limited, and that ABC Limited have invested the amount in the XYZ Limited. This is what the downstream investment. Okay, so hope so this part was clear. So let's read about this. There is one more term used here, so we have to understand that also. Okay, so yes, downstream investment is when an Indian entity that has received the foreign investment invests in another Indian entity which has total foreign investment in it, or the investment vehicle in the capital instrument or capital of the another Indian entity. Basically, this is the type of indirect foreign investment. Are so what is the meaning of indirect foreign investment? Now we have to understand that, right? Yes. Here with the example of the indirect foreign investment, let's understand this. Okay. Here again, I've taken the foreign company. Okay. Again, this foreign company have made the investment in the Indian company. Let us write ABC Limit. Okay. Achha, let's take XYZ Limited. Okay. Okay. XYZ Limited. Okay. So this foreign company have invested in this Indian company XYZ Limited. Okay, okay, 100% investment was done by whom? The foreign company, right? So this is the foreign investment, right? Now again this Indian company have invested in another Indian company, and this is what ABC Limited. Let me write it. Okay. So what was difference in this indirect foreign investment and the downward investment? Is there any difference? Yes, there is one big difference. Okay. So what I told you that in this case, in both the cases, there are three parties involved: foreign company. Okay, Indian company, Indian company, Indian company, Indian company. Okay, the difference is only one, that in the second case, I'm talking about the indirect foreign investment. In case of Indian company, okay, where the foreign company have made the investment, 100% investment in the Indian company, this Indian company is owned by non-resident, not resident of the India. But in case of earlier, the Indian company, in case of downstream investment, the Indian company was run by whom? The resident of India. Okay, owned by the resident of India. This is the major difference here. Okay, so indirectly this is done by the investment is done. Okay, so hope so this part is cleared. Okay, so let's get into what is written here. An Indian entity that has received foreign investment make an investment in another Indian entity. This was also similar to downstream, right? Yes. The Indian entity that received the investment is not owned and controlled by the Indian citizen, which is PRI, person resident of India. Okay. So, which people are going to control this company? PROI. Okay. The Indian entity that received the investment is owned and controlled by the people who lived outside India. Okay, the company is in India, but that is owned and controlled by the person resident outside India, PROI. Okay, so this is the basic difference, a huge difference I can see. Okay, from an investment vehicle whose sponsor or manager, investment manager is not owned and not controlled by the resident Indian citizen, okay, or owned or controlled by the person resident outside India. Okay, so these a little more things which we should know in this part. Okay, what is owned and controlled by the resident Indian citizen or a person outside India on the basis of ownership of Indian firm? Means the beneficial ownership of more than 50% of the business capital instrument by virtue of their shareholding of management right, shareholders agreement or voting agreement. They have the authority to choose a majority of director or to control the management or the policy choices. Second, in case of Indian firm whose ownership is vested in the resident Indian citizen or the Indian corporation that are ultimately owned and controlled by the resident Indian citizen, is referred to as company owned by the resident Indian citizen. Second, where the company controlled by the resident Indian citizen, which refers to the Indian company over which resident Indian citizen have control, as well as Indian enterprise that are ultimately owned and controlled by the resident Indian citizen. An Indian firm owned by the person resident outside India is referred to the company owned by a person residing outside India. A firm Indian firm controlled by the person residing outside India is referred to the company controlled by the person resident outside India here. Okay, so hope so this part was clear. Now I get to know about the total foreign investment, which is basically nothing, ठीक है, which is basically the two of the foreign direct investment and the indirect foreign investment. When these two come together, which would be what? The total foreign investment. Okay, this was all about this. Let's go for the calculation of total foreign investment, which is held by PROI. For calculating the total for an investment in the Indian company, they are as follows. Convertible debt instrument shall be treated as for the total foreign investment. These are some of the things which we have to keep in our mind for calculating foreign investment by the PROI. First thing is about the convertible debt, which shall be treated as a foreign direct investment. Okay. Second, the foreign currency, which is foreign currency convertible bond, which is FCCB, and depository receipt shall not be treated as the foreign investment, total foreign investment. For computing for total foreign investment, we cannot take these two, FCCB and the DR. Third, investment in a portfolio route shall also be covered here. Okay. Indirect foreign investment is wholly owned subsidiary of the Indian company shall be taken up the amount received by the company making investment here. Okay, so this part for the wholly owned subsidiary company can also be taken here. Okay, so these were the things which we have to keep in our mind. Let's go for the other part, guys. Hope so these parts are clear to you. Okay, and this part I have already covered in the beginning chapter lectures. Okay, so yes, let's get into the other part, which is, before going to this part, permitted investment by person resident outside India, and there is one more point, which let me cover it, then we'll go for these things. Okay, what are the pricing guidelines? Okay, so if the company is governed under the SEBI regulation, okay, then in such case pricing shall be done as per the SEBI regulations. If it is governed by SEBI, then for surely as per the SEBI regulation they have to go for the pricing guidelines and all. Okay, so what is going to minimum pricing for the issue of instrument in case of listing company? As I told you, if they are following the SEBI guidelines, then they have to go for the SEBI regulations. But what in case of unlisted company? If the valuation of the equity instrument shall be done on the basis of arm length price, okay, where the valuation is either done by the merchant banker, the practicing CA, or the practicing CMA. This is not going to be applicable in case of non-repatriation basis. Okay, so second, the very first point which I have covered is minimum pricing for the issue of instrument. Now I am going to cover the transfer of instrument. What is going to be pricing here? So the transfer by sale gift between PROI and PR, where the shares are transferred by PROI to PR. Here the outflow is done by PR to PROI. Okay, and in case of PRI, person resident outside India, where the person resident outside India is transferring the share to PROI, the person resident outside India, here the inflow is coming to the PRI in India. Okay, so for these two conditions, same condition is going to be followed, what we have read in this case. So everything is same, but there is only one difference, maximum price and minimum price. बस इतना ही है difference, there is no as such difference here. Okay, there are some more condition which is to be followed. RBI rules and regulation to be satisfied. Okay, the security should have been held on the repatriation basis. I repeat, on the basis of repatriation. Okay, okay, what if they are going for the non-repatriation basis? थोड़ा सा रुक जाओ. Let me say it again. Non-applicability on basis of what? Non-repatriation basis. But if securities are held on non-repatriation basis, then approval from the RBI is to be obtained. First thing, key repatriation basis में is to be done. But what? Non-applicability to what? Non-repatriation basis. But again, हो गया तो कोई बात नहीं, अप्रूवल ले लीजिए आरबीआई से. ओके, सो होप सो दिस पार्ट वाज क्लियर गाइस. लेट्स गेट इनटू दिस पार्ट. ओके, So these are the permitted investment by the person resident outside India. Now we know each and every term, okay. So we have read and understand what are the terms which is going to be used in this chapter. So it's going to be understandable for us, okay. Any investment made by the person resident outside India shall be subjected to the entry route, approval route, ठीक है, approval is to be taken, yes, okay. Sectoral cap, I know the meaning of sectoral cap. Or the investment limit, yes, there are some of the limits, right, yes, for different criteria, FDI, FPI, okay, yes. May make investment as started hereafter. For the details, one has to be seen the relevant etc. out of the various NS sector which related to each kind of investment. For subscribe, purchase, sale of the capital instrument of Indian companies permitted as per the direction laid to the annex first. Second, purchase, sale of capital instrument of the Indian company, the listed Indian company on the recognized stock exchange in India by whom? By the, let me take the pen here, highlight, foreign portfolio investor is permitted, okay. This I know, okay, as per the direction laid down in the annex 2. Third, purchase, sale of the capital instrument again of the what, the listed Indian company on recognized stock exchange by whom? By the non-resident India. आपने इन सब के बारे में पढ़ा है ना भैया? हाँ जी पढ़ा है. और the overseas citizen of the India आपने फिर पढ़ा है या नहीं पढ़ा है? repatriation basis, non, सब कुछ पढ़ा है, सब याद आ गया. हाँ जी. Then what? On repatriation basis is permitted as per the direction laid down in the annex 3. Okay. Purchase, sale of the capital instrument of Indian company or the contributor to the capital of LLP of a firm or proprietor concerned by whom? The non-resident Indian or the overseas citizen of India on non-repatriation basis is permitted as per the guidelines laid down in annex 4. सेम चीज़ें जो पढ़ी है ना सारी वही चीज़ बोल रहे हैं, अपने को सब पता है, ओके. Purchase, sale of securities other than capital instrument, I repeat, other than, okay, instrument by the person resident outside India, which is again permitted as per the direction laid down annex 5. Investment in LLP is permitted as per the directions which is laid down, which is written in annex 6. And investment by foreign venture capital investor is again permitted as per guidelines annex 7. And investment in a investment vehicle, पता है ना, investment vehicle, yes, okay, is permitted as per the direction laid down in the annex 8. And issue transfer of the eligible instrument of the foreign depository for the purpose of issuance of the depository receipt, okay, by eligible person is permitted here again in annex 9. And last, purchase, sale of Indian depository receipt issued by the company resident outside India is permitted here as per which is written in annex 10. All this is easy now, okay. Let's go for some more point, which is acquisition of immovable property by NRI or OCI, ठीक है. There are some limits again. NRI, ठीक है, NRI people cannot go for some acquisition in India, which we have little bit read, ठीक है. But if they are going for these things, then they have to take the approval, and there are some limit which we are going to read one by one, okay. So let's jump into this, okay. So here NRI or OCI can acquire the immovable property in India, excluding, I know this, agriculture and the plantation properties, okay. Okay, the payment for the transfer must be from what fund here? Fund received in India through the banking channel or from the funds held in the non-resident account, traveler's check, foreign currency notes or any other mode prescribed. Payment not permitted under the clause is not allowed, okay. So first NRI and OCI can make the acquisition other than the agriculture and the plantation. And what are the routes, how they are going to do the payment? Either banking channel or any other non-resident fund account which they maintain, or the traveler's check, or with that foreign currency note. And if nothing, the other prescribed mode is actually not, if it is not mentioned, it is not allowed. सीधी बात, okay. Second, property jointly acquired with the spouse if spouse is NRI or OCI, okay. हाँ जी, okay. If the spouse is in the outside India and the person is maintaining proper joint account, then for surely the person can acquire the immovable property in India. Okay. It is important to note that the marriage must have been registered and subsistent for any at least 2 continuous period before acquiring the property, and there must be no other prohibition for the non-resident spouse to acquire the property. Okay, there is one more point which is related to marriage. Okay, for example, let's take the example of Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas. Okay, they got married. Okay, so they can, the Nick Jonas can also acquire the immovable property in India. Okay, but the law is saying they can acquire, the Nick Jonas can acquire for surely, but the marriage should be, you know, there should be some contractual basis. Contractual मतलब legal की बात कर रही हैं यहाँ पे. Okay, legal, the marriage should be legally registered. Okay, and at least their marriage should be for 2 years, not like कुछ एग्रीमेंट हो गया, ठीक है, ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ फेक एग्रीमेंट दे आर जस्ट मेंटेनिंग देयर मैरिज, ठीक है. सो एटलीस्ट देयर मैरिज शुड बी डन, मतलब हो जाने का है और 2 साल कम से कम होने का है यहाँ पे. ओके, सो देन फॉर श्योरली द निक जोनस जीजू जी कैन एक्वायर द इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी इन इंडिया. ओके, then comes the gift inheritance of the immovable property. Yes, this is the another point. Acquisition of the immovable property by a person resident outside India for carrying on the permitted activities, and they are what? The person resident outside India who has established a branch, office or any other place of business, excluding a licensed office for carrying on in India and any activity in accordance with the foreign exchange management, establishment in India or branch or office or any other places of business as per the regulation 2000 may acquire any immovable property in India which is necessary for incidental to carry on such activity. कहीं तो याद आ रहा है भैया, कहीं तो पढ़ा था, डीटी में पढ़ा था क्या, इंटरनेशनल टैक्सेशन में कहीं पढ़ा था, हाँ जी, एनआरआई में कुछ पढ़ा था, हाँ जी. सो लेट मी रीड इट अगेन, ठीक है. गिफ्ट इनहेरिटेंस ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, ओके, वेयर द एक्विजिशन इज डन. Okay, acquire any immovable property in India which is necessary for incidental to carry on such activity, provided that all application law, rules, regulation or the direction for the time being in force are duly complied with. The person files with the Reserve Bank of a declaration in form IPI Annex 2 not later than the 90 days from the date of such acquisition. Okay. Second, transfer of way of mortgage to the authorized dealer as a security for borrowing the immovable property acquired pursuant in clause which is above, as per the above clause. ठीक है. So one thing I want to tell you guys that these things are not written in our module, CMA module. So I have taken more things in this part. ठीक है. So this is little bit extra more about this chapter which we should know. Okay, तो एक बार reading लगाने का है. Okay, that's it. Okay, so next point let's cover prohibition on acquisition of transfer of immovable property by in India by the citizen of certain country. Now we know the country is going to be what? Pakistan होने का एक, बांग्लादेश होने का है, ठीक है, हाँ जी. With that there are lot more, ठीक है. So let's read out. No person being a citizen of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, China, Iran, Nepal or the Bhutan without prior approval, without prior permission of the Reserve Bank shall acquire or transfer the immovable property in India other than lease not exceeding for 5 years. पहले तो बता दूं कि पाकिस्तान, भूटान इन सबको तो पहले ही मना कर दिया, बट इफ दे वांट then surely they can acquire, ठीक है. But there is some limit. Again, what? The prior approval, the permission is to be taken by the RBI force, and that the transfer immovable property they can acquire, ठीक है, but other than lease, and that cannot be acquired for more than 5 years, ठीक है. Okay. Let's go for the other point. Acquisition of immovable property by the foreign embassies, diplomatics, consultant general. In terms of regulation 5A of the foreign exchange management, acquisition and the transfer of immovable property in India, regulation 2000, foreign embassy, diplomat, consultant general may purchase, sell immovable property other than the agricultural land, plantation property, farmhouse in India, provided clearance from government of India is to be taken, Ministry of External Affairs is to be obtained for such purchase or sale by whom? By the foreign embassies, diplomats, consultant generals. Okay, so they have to take the approval from the government of India. With that, Ministry of the External affair. Okay, the consideration for the acquisition of immovable property in India is laid down of fund remitted from the abroad through the normal banking channel. Let me highlight it, guys. Okay, so through what? The normal banking channel. Let's go for the other point. Repatriation of the sale proceed of what? The immovable property. Immovable property acquired by this way of purchase. A person referred in subsection 5 of section 6 of the Foreign Exchange Management Act or his successor shall not, except with the prior approval of RBS, to be taken in case of repatriation. Okay, outside India, the sale proceed of any immovable property referred to that subsection. Second point, in the event of sale of immovable property other than agricultural land, farmhouse, plantation property in India by a person resident outside India who is a citizen of India or a person of Indian origin, the authority dealer may allow repatriation of the sale proceed outside India provided the following conditions are satisfied, namely, the immovable property was acquired by the seller in accordance with the provision of the foreign exchange law in force at the time of acquisition by him or the provision of these regulations. Okay, so the points are the amount to be repatriation does not exceed the amount paid for the acquisition of immovable property in foreign exchange received through the normal banking channel, or the amount paid of the fund held in the foreign currency non-resident account, or the foreign currency equivalent as on the date of payment of the amount paid, where such payment was made from the fund held in non-resident external account for the acquisition of the property. Third, in case of residential property, the repatriation of the sale proceed is restricted to the maximum 2 such property. They cannot go for more than that. Okay, maximum limit is 2. Okay. Immovable property is the other point. Immovable property acquired by way of inheritance, legacy, out of rupee funds. So, a non-resident Indian, the NRI, the person of Indian origin, the PIO, may remit an amount not exceeding US$ 10 lakh. Okay. So, US dollar, which is equal to 1 million only as per the financial year, out of the balances held in NRO account. Sale proceed of asset by the way of purchase. The asset in India acquired by him by way of inheritance, legacy, out of the rupee fund. This is subject to the production of documentary evidence in support of the acquisition, inheritance or legacy of the asset by remitter and tax clearer. No objection certification from the income tax authority from the remittance, okay, is to be obtained. Okay. So, next, remittance exceeding in case of US$ 1 million, in that case financial year, in any financial year, if it exceeds, then for surely the prior permission is to be taken by the RBI. In case of deed of settlement made by the either of his parent or a close relative as defined in section 6 of the Companies Act, and the settlement taking effect on the date of the settler, the original deed of the settlement and the tax clear, no objection certificate is to be obtained by the income tax authority. Okay, that is to be produced and remittance. Okay, with the remittance as above is made in more than one installment, the remittance of all such installments shall be made through the same authorized dealer. Let's go for the other point. Purchase of immovable property in India by whom? By the foreign national of the non-Indian origin resident outside India. Okay, there is a lot more thing, okay, but I'm just reading out because these things are not written in our module and we should know this. Okay, they could ask us in form of MCQ, है ना. एक बार reading लगाने में कोई बुराई नहीं है. So let's do this. I'll say, है ना. You should not leave any part of the topic. I'll say, okay, so cover each and every part. एक दो बार reading लगाओगे तो retain रहेगा. Okay, so the point is related to non-Indian origin resident outside India. Okay, where these people are purchasing immovable property in India by the foreign national, ठीक है, of these people. Okay, foreign national of the non-Indian origin resident outside India are not permitted first thing to acquire any immovable property in India unless such property is acquired by way of, yes, there was exceptional, right, inheritance, yes, bilkul, yes, by way of inheritance from a person who was resident in India. However, they can acquire or transfer immovable property in India on lease not exceeding 5 years. This we also know. Without the prior permission of Reserve Bank, they cannot. Okay, so this, in this case, they have to take the prior permission. First thing, they are not allowed. Okay, but they could be allowed. Okay, for that they have to take the permission from RBI, and it cannot exceed for the 5 years. Okay, yes. Foreign national of the non-Indian origin, other than the citizen of the Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, China, Iran, Nepal or the Bhutan, can acquire immovable property in India on becoming resident in India in term of Section 2(5) of the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. In this connection, he has to satisfy the condition of the period of the stay. The type of the visa granted should be clearly indicating the intention to stay in India of an uncertain period to determine his residential status in terms of section of FEMA 1999. Okay. Last point of this is saying foreign national of the non-Indian origin who has acquired immovable property in India by way of inheritance with specific approval of RBI has purchased immovable property. With this specific approval of RBI cannot be transferred such property without prior approval of RBI again. Okay, so I'll say once you read out these points one or twice, you are easily able to retain these things. Okay, and then just read out the topic. Okay, like this topic you have to read it again and again. ठीक है, तो content अपने आप याद आ जाता है. Or you can just write down the keywords in each of the paragraph, each of the topics. Okay, so need not to go to these things in depth. Okay, so this was not that tough also. Okay, so there is one more point, guys, we have to read it again. This is also not in our module so far as my knowledge. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, and we will complete this chapter. Okay, so foreign exchange management, these are the modes of payment and reporting of non-debt instrument regulation 2019. As per schedule first, purchase or sale of immovable instrument of Indian company by a person resident outside India. This is about the schedule first. Mode of payment is going to be the amount of consideration shall be paid as inward remittance from abroad through the banking channel or out of fund which is held by NRE, FCNR, escrow account which is maintained in accordance with the foreign exchange management. Okay, so this was all about the purchase or sale of the equity instrument of the Indian company by a person resident outside India. Schedule first. This is going to be mode here. ठीक है, let me highlight it. ठीक है, बस एक बार रीडिंग लगाने का, इतना कुछ है ही नहीं इसमें. Okay. What is here? The issue of equity. Shares by the Indian company against any fund payable by it to the investor. Second, swap of equity instrument. Equity instrument shall be issued to the person resident outside India making such investment within what? The 60 days. Okay. So within 60 days of investment, the payment, okay, the investment is to be done. Okay. 60 days from the date of receipt of the consideration. Here the explanation is here. In case of partly paid equity share, the period of 60 days shall be revoked from the date of receipt of each call payment. Okay, so this you have to keep in our mind. Okay. Third point says where such equity instrument is not issued once the payment is done, once the investment is made by this person. Okay, the payment, the receipt of this consideration, okay, it is to be done, okay, within the 60 days. What is the equity instrument is to be issued? Okay, so what if they have not issued? There are other things which is to be followed where such equity instrument are not issued within the 60 days from the date of receipt of the consideration. I repeat, from the date of receipt, from the date of receipt of the consideration. Okay, what if it is not done within that 60 days? It shall be refunded to the person concerned by the outward remittance through the banking channel or by the credit of NRE, FCNR account as the case may be within 15 days date of completion of the 75. ठीक है, 60 days. ठीक है, so let me say it that if this, once the payment is received, okay, the payment is received, okay, the investment is made by this person, okay, within the 60 days, within this 60 days, I repeat, this equity instrument is to be issued. What if this is not issued further in this 15 days? Let me say it here. ठीक है. Further, in this 15 days, this amount is to be remitted through the NRE FCNR account, ठीक है, within the 15 days after the completion of this 60 days. इतनी बात समझ में MCQ आ सकता है. Okay. An Indian company issuing equity instrument under this schedule may open a foreign currency account with the authorized dealer in India in accordance with the foreign exchange management as per regulation 2016. Okay. Remittance of sale proceed, the sale proceed net of tax, here we are talking about, of the equity instrument may remitted outside India, okay, or may be credited to these account of the person concerned. Okay, इतनी बात समझ में आ गई. Okay, so here what you have to do, the payment, the simple बात बोल देती हूँ, tax is to be paid to the government. Okay, so what are they saying? The sale proceed net of the tax. Okay, that's what they have written here. So the amount, the remaining amount, ठीक है, is to be going to be transferred to the person's account, the concerned person account. ठीक है जी, हाँ जी. Let's go for the schedule 2, which is about the investment by the foreign portfolio investors. So again the mode is going to be what? Let me highlight. The amount of consideration shall be paid as inward remittance from the abroad through the banking channel or out of funds held in foreign currency account or the special non-resident rupee account maintained in accordance with the foreign exchange management deposit regulation 2016, provided balances in the special non-resident rupee account shall not be used for the making investment in unit. Let me underline it, guys. So it should not be used for making investment in unit of investment vehicle other than the unit of domestic mutual fund. So for the investment which is done by these people could only use for the domestic एक सेकेंड पेंसिल ले लो, domestic mutual fund. Okay, other than the unit of they are talking about, so they cannot make for the investment vehicle. Okay, then the foreign currency account and the SNRR account shall be used only and exclusive for the transaction of this schedule. Okay, remittance of the sale proceed net, same baat, wahi baat, and the unit of domestic mutual fund may be remitted outside India or credited to the foreign currency account or the SNRR account of the FPI. The sale proceed net of the tax and the unit of the investment vehicle other than the domestic mutual fund may be remitted outside India. इतनी बात मुझे समझ में आ गई है. Then third says about the schedule. Third says about the investment by whom? By the non-resident India or the overseas citizen of the Indian on the basis of repatriation basis. Okay. Again, what is going to be more? The amount of the consideration shall be paid as the inward remittance from abroad through banking channel or the fund which is held in the non-resident external account maintained in accordance with the foreign exchange management depository 2016. Okay, so the NRE account will be designated as NRE PIS account and the designated account shall be used for exclusive putting through the transaction permitted under this schedule. Okay, investment in unit of domestic mutual fund shall be paid as inward remittance from the abroad through the banking channel or out of fund by NRE FCNR account. Subscription to the national pension system shall be paid as the inward remittance from abroad through the banking channel of these. ठीक है, देखो, I am going to repeat these things. You should know this thing. ठीक है, मैं नहीं बोल रही कि इनको रटो, because this much is not written in our module. I'm repeating this thing. Okay, so एक बार जानना बहुत ज़रूरी है. We should know these things. Okay, तो एक बार जानो, that's it. Okay, so again remittance, same thing is written here, nothing much more guys. एक पढ़ लोगे आपको आराम से बाकी चीज़ें समझ में आ जाएगी, है ना, इतना होच पोच नहीं है यहाँ पर. Okay, remittance of the sale proceed, the sale proceed net of the tax of the equity instrument may be remitted outside India, again the same thing, or may be credited to these account of the person concerned. The sale proceed of the unit of mutual fund or the subscription to the national pension system may be remitted outside India or may be credited to these concerned account. Okay, तो इतना होच-पोच नहीं है. Fourth schedule says about the investment by NRI or OCI on what the non-repatriation basis. The purchase or sale of the equity instrument of the Indian company or the unit of contribution to the capital of LLP or the NRI or the OCI on what the non-repatriation basis. The mode of payment, the amount of consideration shall be paid as inward remittance from the abroad through the banking channel or out of NRE, FCNR NRO account which is maintained by the Foreign Exchange Management Deposit Regulation 2016. Sale maturity proceed. The sale maturity proceed net of the application taxes of the equity instrument or the unit or the disinvestment proceed of the LLP shall be credited only to the NRO account of the investment irrespective of the type of account for which consideration was paid. Second, the amount of investment in equity instrument of the Indian company or the consideration for the contribution to the capital of the LLP and the capital appreciation thereof shall not allow to be the repatriation abroad here. Okay. Investment in case of firm or proprietary concern, mode of payment is going to be the amount of consideration shall be paid as inward remittance from the abroad through the banking channel or the fund which is NRE, FCNR, NRO account maintained in accordance with these, and sale proceed. The disinvestment proceeds shall be credited only to NRO account of a person concerned irrespective of the type of account here from which the consideration was paid. The amount invested for the contribution to the capital of a firm or a proprietor concern and the capital precision thereon shall not be allowed to be repatriation abroad. ठीक है, so that's it guys. इसमें और कुछ नहीं है. I've covered majority all of the topics here. ठीक है, every छोटे से छोटा बड़े से बड़े topic is covered in this chapter. Okay, so let me go back guys and let's see now the definition and all. ठीक है, which we have covered most of the things. Okay, so here one by one we have covered FDI, FPI, NRI, OCI. ठीक है, एंड द इन्वेस्टमेंट व्हीकल के बारे में, डाउनस्ट्रीम इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में, मर्जर अमैलगमेशन के बारे में. सो एवरीथिंग इज कवर्ड. ओके, सो लेट मी रीड इट गाइस. नाउ यू आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस थिंग मच बेटर. मुश्किल से 2 से 5 मिनट लगेगा. ओके, एंड वी आर डन विद दिस चैप्टर. ओके, सो व्हाट अबाउट द स्पेचुलेशन, few speculations of the foreign investment in India as per the master directions. First, foreign direct investment which we have covered is the investment through the capital instrument by the person resident outside India, the unlisted company, right? 10% or more of the post issue paid up capital. याद आया. हाँ जी. Okay, so this was all about this part. What about the foreign portfolio investment? less than 10% था ना. हाँ जी. फिर क्या था? 14% था क्या? हाँ जी. फिर क्या था? 24% something क्या था? कुछ sectoral cap याद आया. हाँ जी. Okay, so the foreign portfolio investment is the investment made by the person resident outside India and the capital instrument where such investment is less than 10% of the post paid up equity capital on the fully diluted basis of the listed Indian company. Second, less than 10% of the paid up value of the each series of the capital instrument of the listed Indian company. Then comes the person resident outside India may hold the foreign investment either in form of the foreign direct investment or the foreign portfolio investment in any particular Indian company issued outside India, the underlying of which is security issued by a person resident in India. अब समझ में आ गई. हाँ जी. Fourth, about the Indian vehicle. Okay, so these are the things which is not written है ना in depth in our books. So we have to understand this term first. What is this FDI? How much percentage is going to be invested by the foreign investor and the companies है ना. Okay, and the वो investment vehicle and all. So without knowing these things we cannot understand this thing. Okay, so investment vehicle is an entity registered and regulated under the relevant regulation framed by the SEBI or any other authority designed for the purpose and will be the real estate investment trust governed by the SEBI regulation, infrastructure investment trust governed by the SEBI regulation 2014 and the alternative investment fund governed by the SEBI regulation 2012. A venture capital fund registered under Security Board of India will not be considered as the investment vehicle here. Okay, the last, any equity held by the person resident outside India resulting from the conversion of any debt instrument under any arrangement shall be revoked under the sectoral cap. ठीक है, so this was all about this chapter FDI. Okay, and I have covered majorly every part guys. Okay, so what you have to do the proper revision. Hope so you have started revising your subjects है ना. Result are not, I know it's going to be announced on 11th soon है ना, 2-4 दिन के अंदर. So panic नहीं होने का. What you have to do, stay away from social media पहले तो है ना, and do your study revision whatever you are doing. the routine should be followed. Okay, मेडिटेशन, एक्सरसाइज, योगा जो भी करते हो करते रहो, ठीक है. थोड़ा सा फ्री रिलैक्स होने का, पैनिक होकर कुछ नहीं होगा. जो करना था हम कर चुके हैं, है ना. तो अब इतना होच पोच करके कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है. जस्ट हैव टू स्टे काम एंड जस्ट गो एंड वॉच, सी योर रिजल्ट विथ योर लव वंस. ओके, एंड जो होगा सही होगा यार, बढ़िया होगा, है ना. इतना कुछ ज़्यादा सोचने का नहीं है इसके बारे में. ओके, विल मीट इन अवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो, है ना. जल्दी जल्दी आ जाएंगे अब. ओके, एंड तब तक के लिए स्टे ट्यून्ड एंड डू योर स्टडी वेल, है ना. अच्छे से खाना पीना सब खाओ पियो, मस्त रहो. ओके, पढ़ाई करो मस्त तरीके से. ओके, एंड विल मीट इन अवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो. टिल देन व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, सब्सक्राइब माय चैनल गाइस, जो कि नहीं करते आप लोग. ठीक है, सब्सक्राइब करो, शेयर दिस वीडियो सो दैट CMA स्टूडेंट्स शुड बी बेनिफिटेड. ओके, सो विल मीट इन अवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो. टिल देन व्हाट यू हैव टू डू, टिल्स गाइस, खुश रहो, मस्त रहो.